my name is Ananga Manjari, and I'm a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. I've been a devotee for over 45 years, and when I was I had an experience that when I was around 12 years old, I had an experience with a friend. We were walking down the road, and she asked me, what would you like to do? What are you going to be doing? It was a new year for school. It was September. And for some reason, I took that very deeply. I took it as a very deep question, like, what am I going to do with my life? And I turned around and I saw the trees were moving in the breeze. And for some reason, I thought something wonderful is going to happen. And as I turned around in my heart, I thought, I have to dedicate myself to God. I have to find the absolute truth. And of course, I did not say that to her. I said, I don't know, what are you going to do? Because it was such a shocking revelation in my heart. And later on, when I became a devotee, I actually realized that this was the same month and the same year in 1965 that Srila Prabhupada had stepped on the Boston Harbor, and this incident took place in Boston. I was brought up in Boston. So this incident took place right maybe a few miles from the Boston Harbor, and I actually felt that Srila Prabhupada's prayer of desire for how these people will take to Krishna consciousness. How will I affect these Western people? He was praying like that right at the Boston Harbor, and somehow or other that same year, that same month, it had affected me as a 12-year-old girl. I had no knowledge or anything of what was about to happen, but I felt something. Krishna let me feel this something. Later on, I had become a vegetarian on my own, and I had seen the devotees here and there chanting in the street. This was some years later, 1970. I would see them chanting, and a few times I kind of chanted to myself the Hare Krishna mantra, and I would always feel happy and wonder, what is this all about? I figured it was something to do with God, and I thought maybe sometime I'll find out what it's about. Then one day the devotees were all chanting. It was a big festival in Boston Commons, Park Street Station, and this was in 1970, in the spring of 1970. I was 16 years old, and I saw the devotees all chanting, and because I had chanted a little on my own, they were all like looking at me, and I was smiling. There was big crowds of people watching, and I was probably the only one smiling and swaying and going, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So, the devotees saw that, and they started going, come to us, come and sing with us. And I wanted to go, but of course I was a little embarrassed, so I told my friend, I said to her, please, let's go and sing with them. And she says, you're crazy, I'm not going to go and sing in public with them. And something inside me said, this is more important than anything else, go do it. So this was Super Soul again, and I thought, I have to go do this. So I went up to the devotees, I sang, I danced, I was in total ecstasy. And after that, I went up to one of the very wonderful, beautiful ladies, Kanchambala, who lives in California right now with her husband. And I went up to her and I said, you people are the most beautiful people I have ever met. This is the most, I feel so wonderful. I feel so happy like I've never felt before. And so she said, oh, thank you. And I actually invited the devotees. I said, why don't you all come down to the ocean? I live right on the ocean, and we'll all have a big, we'll sing and dance down there. And she said, are there a lot of people there? And of course it was early spring, so I said, not this time of year, there's no people, and that's the beauty of it. We can kind of meditate and sing on our own. And of course devotees always want people around. But she was very polite, and she said, maybe we'll come, and you also, we're inviting you to our Sunday feast. And she handed me the card. She said, it's a vegetarian feast. I said, I'm a vegetarian. And she went, wow, this is great, so please come. So I when I went home, I could not stop chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. It caught me, and I couldn't stop chanting. I was with some friends, and I'm trying to tell them about it and how wonderful, and they're all saying, stop it, stop talking about this. And I was like, wow, they're not my friends, because I'm trying to share the most wonderful thing that just happened in my life, and they're not interested. So I kind of stayed away from them, and I called other friends I thought would be interested. And my mother said, one day you came home talking about Krishna and you never stopped. What did they do to you? What did they give you? She thought they gave me some drug or something. And anyway, a few days later, I actually even was dreaming of the mantra. I dreamt of the kartals and mridanga in my head, like right in beat. And I was like, whoa. And I was waking up going, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And this was, the holy name caught me so wonderfully. But I didn't know any of the philosophy yet. So I was thinking, this time I'll go near the devotees, but I'll stay a little distant, because I want to know why this is moving my heart and my soul. Why is it moving me like this? So I stayed a distance, and one devotee was walking around with some pamphlets. And I said, let me see the pamphlet and I'll give it back, because I didn't want to obligate myself to something that I didn't know philosophically if it was right for me. So I saw the pamphlet, and it was the Reservoir of Pleasure, an old Reservoir of Pleasure pamphlet with Krishna on the cover with all the colors in the background, and Prabhupada's picture was inside. And I just opened it random to a page, and right there it said this. It said the Hare Krishna mantra, and Prabhupada was saying this Hare Krishna mantra is telling everyone to wake up. It's waking up the soul. And he said, think back to something you've done a week ago, some months ago, a year ago. And I actually closed my eyes and I thought, okay, last week I was doing this, I was doing that in school or whatever. And then I read again and it said, now, what is that like to you? It's only a dream. It's as if you dreamt it. It's only the thought in your head. It has no more substance. That moment in time has no more substance. It's gone. It's disappeared. So just like that, our whole life is just disappearing as a dream in front of us. But this Maha Mantra is saying, wake up soul, wake up to the reality of your relationship with God. And as soon as I read that, I thought, he knows what I need to know. So I looked at his picture, and it was a beautiful picture, Prabhupada smiling by a tree. And he was kind of like hugging the tree and smiling, and he had a white turtleneck sweater on. And he was smiling, and I said, he knows what I need to learn, so I'll learn from him. So right away I went to the devotees and I said, I want to come to the temple for the Sunday feast, the vegetarian feast. And because they were out on the commons, you know, doing Harinam. So one devotee, Sharadia, she kind of took me under her wing and we went together on the bus back to the temple. And the whole way I asked her questions, and she was answering my questions, because I was studying already some Buddhism and a little philosophy, Eastern philosophy, and I was very interested to know about God and the Absolute Truth. So she was answering my questions, and I would say, you mean it's like this? And then she'd go, well, kind of like this, but more like this. And she was preaching so wonderfully. I sat her down on the, we never even went into the temple right away. We sat down on the steps because I had so many questions, and she was answering all my questions. We sat for about 2 hours discussing, and at one point I said, you're speaking the absolute truth so eloquently that I want to be able to speak like this. And she said, just by hearing, you will get it, you know. And so then we went to the temple, and the whole program went on, and I danced and was happy and chanted, but I did not eat much prasadam because it was a little strange for me, the Indian, you know, food pakoras and this. I had a little salad and that was it. I didn't want to, prasadam was not what attracted me. The holy name and the philosophy was what was catching me. So when I left the temple that evening, actually I was the last person to leave because I still had questions after. And it was about 11 o'clock at night on an early spring night in 1970 in Boston. And I had to take a train and a bus and another bus to get home. It was a while. So the devotees walked me to the station, and I'm sitting on one of the buses, and they had given me, in those days when we walked in the temple, they used to put tilak on everyone, and and they handed me the flower from the Arctic. It was a gardenia flower and some incense. So I'm sitting on the bus with my flower and my incense and tilak on. I have my jeans. I was just a young girl, 16. And I'm sitting on the bus and I'm going, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I was very happy. Some Indian man was watching, young Indian man, probably a college student in Boston. And he was staring at me. And I'm thinking, why is this man staring at me? So I kind of turn around in the bus and I'm by myself going, Hare Krishna in the corner, you know. And now that, of course, we look back, we know he's looking at me and thinking, she's doing puja on the bus. She's got tilak and the incense and the flower and she's chanting the mantras. She's doing puja on the bus. Of course, I didn't know that he was thinking this. So when I got off the bus, I thought, I'm going to run because I don't want this man following me. I have to run to the train station. He ran after me and I'm watching him. He's running after me and I'm running and he runs in front of me and Madam, Madam, and very humble. And then I stopped. I thought, Madam? We don't call each other Madam, especially young girls in America. So I was like, whoa, he's being polite and he's saying Madam. So I stopped. And he said, Madam, Madam, you are chanting Hare Krishna? And I said, oh, yes, it's wonderful, it's beautiful. It makes you feel so happy. And he goes, I've known about Krishna ever since I was this high, but I never saw anyone that looked as happy as you. He goes, why? How are you so happy? And I said, it's not me. I said, it's not me. I said, it's my spiritual master. And I caught myself, this is the first day I'm at the temple, I caught myself saying, it's my spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. And then I started preaching to him whatever I heard from Saradia. I started preaching. By the way, Saradia is a beautiful artist of Krishna paintings, and she has a website, and she's up in New York. I think she's in New York or California. But anyway, I said it's those devotees and it's my spiritual master, AC. And I caught myself while I was saying that. I was thinking, my spiritual master. I'm actually accepting him. And I said, yes, this is right. In my heart, I knew this is right. So I started preaching to him for about 20 minutes. And at one point he goes, let's go get a cup of coffee. And I thought, I'm not going to go with some strange person. So I said, oh, we don't drink coffee. Like my first few moments of being a devotee. And anyway, that was how I became a devotee. And the next morning, this gentleman was at the temple. And I saw him and I thought, of course, anyone who hears this philosophy will immediately come. I thought the whole world would change. I was very idealistic. And actually, Prabhupada has done amazing things in this way to change the world, change our hearts, make us from hippies to happies.